Welcome to Week 8 of the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, with the Trentonians' Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman, and we've got another big weekend of Mercer County football coming up. A spooky one, Halloween weekend in Mercer County. A lot of games on Saturday. We have some good ones coming up for you on the WBCB Sports Network. On Friday, we have Hopewell Valley at Allentown. That will be on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. On Saturday, we'll come back at 11 a.m. with Robbinsville at Princeton. And then at 2 p.m., it'll be Hamilton at Nottingham. Both of those games will be on 107.7 FM The Bronx as well. And Rich, last week we were talking about a Robbinsville streak and 3 wins in a row for Robbinsville. That streak did come to an end this week, but another streak happened.
It's you think this weekend's spooky? You should have been in Hightstown last weekend. That was pretty frightening itself. Let's just give you the bare facts here. As a lot of people already know, at the end of the Steinert-Hightstown game, we had quite a sight when a streaker leaped over the fence, sprinted down the Steinert sidelines, perfect form, hurdled the fence, the high end zone fence down the end of the field, and then just disappeared off into the night. No one ever saw him again. He ran into the woods over to the East Windsor Pal complex, and it was left everyone just mouths dropped. Well, the students weren't. They were going crazy.
Oh, I'm sure they loved it.
I actually got Steinert soccer goalie John Warwick sent me a video of a little bit of it, which I really didn't need to see again.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But as it happened, I was standing with the Hightstown principal, Dennis Vincent, and the athletic director, Jim Pito, and they watched the guy and they go, "If that kid's not playing sports, we need to get him on a sports team here."
Because you imagine it probably took some good moves to get around.
Let me tell you
something.
something.
To stop a streak.
Yeah, exactly. No, everybody just stood and watched. He was going too fast. And then he, when he's getting ready to jump that fence, you're like, uh-oh. And he cleared that. He looked like an Olympic hurdler. It was
sign him up for cross country.
It was something else, yeah. And then I actually had somebody ask me. They had a mask on, so you couldn't see their face. Somebody goes, "Was it a man or a woman?" I said, "It was a man." Well, how do you know if they had a mask on? I went, "Duh."
Yeah, I think that question's probably the easiest one to answer.
Yeah, so there's some idiots out there. But anyhow, let's see what happens this week. Let's see if everybody can keep their costumes on this Halloween.
I think we'll see mostly people in their costumes this week. Is a good point. So we had some big games this past week. Some really big ones. We'll run through some of the big ones here. Trenton had a big win over Nottingham. That was a game that you were out at with Chris Ermer and Pete Inarato, and Trenton now really rolling along.
Yeah, and it was a 38-0 win for Trenton, and it was. You really had to give the Tornadoes credit because this happened before we taped last week. It happened after. I mean, they lost the game by forfeit.
I was wondering. I saw that when I went online that their record was different.
Yeah, they had to. What had happened was they used an ineligible player. I think maybe a game or two too early on opening day against Rancocas Valley.
Right.
Didn't realize it. Didn't do it on purpose. But the athletic director, Sharon Grady, found out about it, and she reported it to the state, which is the right thing to do. And they cost them a win, and credit to Trenton. They could have gotten down. They could have been they could have looked past Nottingham because Nottingham was starting a bunch of new kids and Nottingham struggling, and they didn't. They played an outstanding game. Their defense played a great game. Kenyon Tootle, who, as we've talked before, who hurt himself in playing summer basketball, probably had his best game of the year. He had a touchdown, an interception, did some nice things, and he said after the game that he's back not only physically but in his mind too. He said he had to get positive thinking, and he was having trouble doing that. So that bodes well for Trenton. So they really did a nice job. I mean, competition aside and everything else, Trenton really came to play last week, and they're using this forfeit as motivation rather than feel sorry for themselves.
Another game that had, I believe, the exact same score that was the one going into last week that we were saying, well, this is maybe the game of the week, Hopewell Valley and Ewing on Friday night. It was a big one, and it was a big win for Hopewell Valley, 38-0.
Yeah, I mean, Hopewell, they're just steamrolling people, Sean. I mean, it's not even, they're just blowing people away. Joey Mordino, another unbelievable game, over 200 yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, the kid was just out of his mind. Hopewell's offensive line has just done a great job this year. Their defense, the big thing with Hopewell is their defense. I mean, they I think I was going to talk about it later when we previewed the games, but they've haven't allowed much. This is their first shutout, but I think they've held opponents to under double figures for the last 4 games in a row, and they've won 6 straight. So they're taking no prisoners, and we did think that was going to be closer because Ewing was hot, and Ewing had a 3-game winning streak and everything else, but Hopewell thought otherwise.
Hopewell, the last time they allowed double-digit points was week 3 on the road against Lawrence. They allowed 13 points.
Right.
They have not allowed more than 19 points in any game this season, and they've allowed 7 or less 5 times
right.
this year. So Hopewell Valley's defense looking really good. We'll take a look at some of the rest of the games that went on this past weekend in Mercer County when we come back. This is the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.
Discover the dealer for the people, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. One of the region's finest state-of-the-art service facilities for all makes and models. A service facility so good, local school districts get their buses serviced at Haldeman. Police fleets, local municipalities get their cars and trucks serviced at Haldeman. From oil changes to tire sales, Haldeman Ford services all makes and models. And they offer tires for just $10 over cost on name brand tires like Goodyear and Pirelli. And their waiting room offers complimentary food. And there's a special Wi-Fi room available for your use. So no matter where you purchase your car, get it serviced at Haldeman Ford, the dealership for the people on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. I'm Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering and can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365. 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29 in nearby Ewing Township.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by fish4scores.com. That's fish4scores.com, and on Twitter at fish4scores. Here with Rich Fisher of the Trentonian and of Fish4Scores. You know, Rich, we talk about every week all the big things that are going on in Mercer County football, and we also like to mention some things going on, off of the football field as well in Hamilton Township.
Yeah, but not much to talk about this week, buddy.
No?
The only big thing left this week is Hamilton. All 3 field hockey teams start the state tournament today. Hamilton plays Lawrence, which should be a pretty good game, but the soccer teams both got beat in the Mercer County tournament. The boys got beat in a really good game last night, 1-0 to Hopewell to West Windsor Plainsboro South. Congratulations to my buddy Brian Fisher. I love Brian, and he got the first time that he's going to the finals as a coach. Steiner played a great game. They just one of those games in soccer. So the football teams are hoping it doesn't affect them this week. At least one will win. We know that this week.
Right. Well, speaking of that Steiner football team, they got a nice win this past week. Now 5-1 on the season after a 23-17 road win over Heightstown.
Yeah, and you know what? This turned out to be a really good game, Sean. Heightstown deserves so much credit for hanging in because the game started. They didn't have their talented quarterback Ryan Conlon. He was out with a concussion. And then Sergi Felizar, their linebacker, who's very good, he returned a fumble really long distance to start the game. He went out with a cut under the eye, so they didn't have a quality player there. And yet they hung in till the very end. They battled, they fought, and the game. And Ethan Finger deserves a lot of credit for the way he played on defense, and Corey Madden on both sides of the ball. And with 30 seconds left, Sam Nagy, the backup quarterback, threw a pass down the right sideline that. This was Corey Madden's hands. This was the ball right here. Wow. It went over by that much, and if he'd have caught that, he was in for the tying touchdown, and they would have had to kick the extra point. Would have been a huge upset. So credit to them, and credit to Steiner too, because I kind of wrote in one of the stories Steiner's just finding ways to win. They grinded it out against Nottingham. They grinded it out against Hightstown. You know, they had a closer look at the streaker, so they could have been a little more affected by the
Yeah,
whole
that
thing.
can have a big impact.
But they hung in there, and you know, they might have been looking ahead to this week too, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Some other games from this past weekend, Lenape and Notre Dame were in action, and this is a very good Lenape team. Notre Dame ends up falling in that one by a score of 28-13. The Irish fall to 4-3 now with that home loss, and they need to come up with a big win moving forward. But that was a tough loss for them against Lenape.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good game. I mean, Notre Dame only trailed 14-13 going into the fourth quarter, and then Lenape got a couple of touchdowns in the fourth that basically put it away. You know, as we've said every week, they're just a good team.
Right.
And so, you know, I mean, Tommy Hackett had another nice game for Notre Dame. He had a couple interceptions. Alex Roman rushed for 126 yards. But you take away Alex Roman, they only had 55 yards of passing from Xavier Lazinski, and that was the whole rest of the offense. So Lenape did a good. Lenape basically said, "All right, Alex, you'll get your yards, but we're stopping everything else," and that's kind of what they did. And you know, so yeah, Notre Dame needs to bounce back.
Rancocas Valley has had a nice couple of weeks now. They had a bye last week, which gave them an extra week to prepare for Allentown. They come up with a 42-14 win over the Redbirds in that one. Plus, they find out about getting that forfeit victory over Trenton. So Rancocas Valley goes from 2-3 a week and a half ago to now 4-2.
Yeah,
a big swing for them.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good streak, huh? And
Yeah.
and the important thing is they're winning. They're actually winning games on the field too. So
Right.
you know, that shows that they're turning things around a little bit and you know, getting some good wins. So
Right, because they lost 3 out of their first 4. And
Right.
they got out to a slow start, which after going 9-3 last year was a little concerned, but now they seem to be really putting things together.
Yep.
Hamilton had a loss this week. They fell to 2-4 on the year on the road to a pretty good West Windsor Plainsboro North team that offensively, I think we're going to talk about them very soon offensively. A great West Windsor North team.
yeah, they're amazing. I mean, they're like a feast or famine team. They'll get shut out one week and then they'll score 40 the next week.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they took control. They got up 22-0, and then the score was a little misleading because they really put it away in the third quarter. And you know, Hamilton's just been having bad starts, and West Windsor North took advantage. And you know, they have 3 playmakers who we'll talk about in a little bit.
Another game from last week, West Windsor South falls to 0-7 on the year as they lose at home to Princeton by a score of 34-7 in that one. Some other games that went on this past weekend, the Lawrence Cardinals also falling to 0-7 on the year. They fell at home 49-21 to Northern Burlington, and Robbinsville, after that 3-game winning streak, they do finally pick up a loss once again. They fall 41-14 at home to a very good Pemberton team, and we'll see that Robbinsville team Saturday at 11 a.m. on 107.7 FM The Bronx. But now, Rich, I think it's time for us to do our player and team of the week before we start talking about next week's games.
I know people are on the edge of their seats for that.
This is the big moment right here.
All right, buddy boy, you can go first.
I'll go first. We can start with the player of the week. For me, there were a couple of guys who you could potentially have as the player of the week. But to me, Malik Thompson from West Windsor Plainsboro North was incredible, and he did it in every facet of the game. He completed 69.6% of his passes, threw for 256 yards, 2 touchdown passes. He also played defense, had 4 tackles, intercepted 2 passes, averaging 30 yards per return on their interceptions. And he was the punter for the team as well, punted 4 times for 113 yards. I just don't think you can beat that as far as an individual incredible performance from Malik Thompson.
Yeah, and one of his punts pinned him at the 9-yard line. It was
Right.
a 42-yarder. So, well, Malik Thompson was going to be my choice, but since we like to spread the joy around, let's keep it on the same team. And Malik Thompson's teammate, John Owens, receiver, and I'm not sure where he plays on defense, either linebacker or defensive back. Owens caught 6 of those passes. One of them was for a 70-yard touchdown, and defensively he made 9 tackles. So John Owens was also a great two-way player, and Joey Mordino, the only reason you're not getting it this week is because you got it last week.
Yeah,
He'd be pretty much hands down the winner this week, too. So, congratulations to the Northern Knights for sweeping the Player of the Week awards.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of Hopewell Valley and Joey Mordino, they're my team of the week this week. Hopewell Valley defeated a very good Ewing team, 38-0. They improved to 6-1 on the year. And Joey Mordino, who won our Player of the Week last week, rushes for 219 yards, 5 touchdowns. He also had 1 reception for 30 yards in the game. So just under 250 yards of offense from Mordino and 5 touchdowns. Apparently not good enough for Player of the Week this week, but definitely good enough for Team of the Week. Hopewell Valley looking like maybe the best team in Mercer County.
Right now, who would argue that? You know, that the way it's going. So, my team of the week is going to be the Trenton Tornadoes because, granted, they played a Nottingham team that is in flux, I guess you would call it. But like we said earlier, the Tornadoes got the bad news of losing a victory by a forfeit. Didn't pout about it. Used it as incentive. Came back and played an outstanding game on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. You know, and sometimes the competition just doesn't matter. It's how a team performs. And Trenton performed well. Gave the ball to a lot of different people, a lot of different receivers, a lot of different running backs. Defense was outstanding. So congratulations to Trenton High and to Hopewell Valley High as our teams of the week.
This was another week where I saw that Trenton had a big win, and I went to look to see, maybe a Player of the Week from that Trenton game, see who put up some big stats. And again, it's another week where just
too spread out.
Everybody's doing a nice job for them. There's no one player that they're looking to. It's part of the reason that they're a very good team, so they win your Team of the Week. So we've got Malik Thompson, both of us, Malik Thompson for me, Player of the Week. Owens, also from West Windsor Plainsboro North, as the Player of the Week from Rich. And then Hopewell Valley and Trenton as our Teams of the Week. Congratulations, guys. Nice job. Keep it going. We'll step aside, take a quick break. We'll talk about the coming games in Mercer County this weekend when we come back on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers, serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety, and the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. With the Trentonians' Rich Fisher, I'm Sean Lerman, and we've got some great games coming up on BCB this weekend. All 3 of our games this weekend will be on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. On Friday, we will bring you Hopewell Valley at Allentown. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff. We'll go live at 6:45 p.m. Matt Mira will be on the call with Rich Fisher. Saturday, we've got a double header of high school football on the Bronx at 11 a.m. We will go live for kickoff with Robbinsville at Princeton. That game will be called by Chris Ermer and Rich Fisher. And then Rich Fisher pulling triple duty this weekend. He'll be back for Saturday at 2 p.m. Hamilton at Nottingham. Carlos Toro, Matt St. Ange, and Rich Fisher on the call of that game. Again, all 3 games on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com or on the Bronx free Android and iPhone apps. Search WRRC1 and WRRC2 in the Apple and iPhone stores. Some big ones this weekend. That Hopewell Valley at Allentown one. Always an interesting game when those 2 teams play. Now, Hopewell Valley rolling right now. Allentown has had a tough couple of weeks. They've been a little hit or miss this season, but it's a very talented Allentown team, and still an interesting one on Friday night.
Well, I mean, the potential is there for a real shootout. I mean, we've seen Allentown put up some tremendous numbers this year at times.
They scored more points in one game than some teams have all season so far.
Exactly, with that 80-plus point. Allentown, they're just having, their problem is they're having a tough time defensively this year. And Hopewell has been putting up numbers, as we said. Hopewell. Here's the other numbers that we were going to talk about. In the last 4 games, Hopewell's allowed 20 points. They allowed 42 in the first 3, 20 in the last 4. I don't think it's a coincidence that
Jeff Wiley coming back healthy. Yep.
Coming back healthy had something to do with that. But I mean, they have a good defense all the way around, and we thought Ewing was going to put a scare into Hopewell, and it didn't happen. So I guess Allentown last week they gave up 42 points, and Rancocas Valley had 3 scoring plays of over 50 yards, so they were susceptible to the big play. Who knows, Sean? I mean, every week something crazy happens. So
it really does.
I mean, if you just went on paper, what's been going on, Nottingham or Hopewell would win this game, 40-10. But that's not the way it's been going this year, and it's very easily maybe could be like a 38-35 game or something like that. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I would not be surprised by a close, high-scoring game at all. So on Saturday, we come back, Robbinsville at Princeton. Robbinsville, after not winning a football game for a long time, won 3 in a row before falling this past week, but still looking pretty good right now against a Princeton team that had a good year last year, a slow start this year, but starting to put things together, it seems.
Well, they got a big win last week to beat West Windsor South, which was, got them back to doing something positive again. Robbinsville, like you said. Actually, that Robbinsville game was tight going into the fourth quarter, and then Pemberton scored 22 points to put it away. So it was that close.
And that's a really good Pemberton team too.
Yeah,
they're doing a nice job this year.
It was 22-14 early in the fourth quarter, and then they scored like 20 points or whatever. And I know Robbinsville's a little upset because with a minute to go, they threw twice into the end zone and got a touchdown with like under a minute throwing the ball. So Robbinsville didn't appreciate that too much, but. These are 2 teams. I mean, their playoff hopes are pretty much, I think, shot because Robbinsville's 11th, Princeton's 12th in their respective groups, and they need to win and just need a whole heck of a lot of stuff to happen. However, there's an interesting sidebar to this game, my friend.
All right. I'm intrigued.
For 5 years, Robbinsville Junior Ravens, a PAL football team, Burlington PAL football team, had a center named David Beamer and a quarterback named Andrew Armando.
Okay.
Armando took snaps from Beamer for 5 years. Now, on Saturday, the Princeton quarterback, David Beamer, he's a Cranberry kid, and the Robbinsville quarterback, Andrew Armando. So the former center quarterback teammates are now opposing quarterbacks, and they're still good friends, but they really want to beat each other in a bad way. And Armando's father, Andrew Sr., told David Beamer after their 5 years were up and they went to high school, he said, "You're a good center, but this will be the last time you'll play center because you're going to be too good of a quarterback." Wow. So Armando Sr. is very pleased with himself about that prediction. He texted me to let me know about that. So that'll be interesting. And this now we got 2 teams that are trying to play for a 500 record or a winning record and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good game.
I think so too. We'll have another one at Saturday, Hamilton at Nottingham. We talk about it. It seems like every week these last few weeks. Anytime you have Hamilton teams going at it. So Hamilton at Nottingham, 2:00 p.m. on 107.7 The Bronx. That should a couple of teams that have had a little bit of struggles in the past few weeks. But probably a very evenly matched game.
Yeah, well, both teams are 2-5. Actually, I forgot to give the records before. Hopewell's 6-1, and Allentown's 3-4, and Robbinsville and Princeton are both 3-4. Now, getting to this game, both teams are 2-5. Something's got to give. Nottingham's lost 4 straight. They've been shut out in their last 3 games. They haven't scored a point in 3 games. Hamilton's lost 2 straight. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. But they call this the backyard brawl in Hamilton. That's its nickname. All these games have a nickname, and it always is when these two play. I mean, these 2 teams have put on some of the wildest finishes and wildest games I've ever seen. And no matter what the records, it could happen again. I mean, Hamilton-Steiner is the oldest rivalry on Thanksgiving. But as far as bizarre, memorable moments within a shorter period of time, this thing is crazy. It's wacky. Nottingham is seems to be in rebuild mode right now. They made a lot of changes last week. They moved Mike Malagrino from quarterback to running back.
I noticed that when I was listening to the game.
Yep. They didn't have Ben Fair. Coach Adams said that he has a concussion and doesn't know when he's going to be back. Dari Felix, a junior, and Deontay West, a sophomore, went in at quarterback, and Malagrino looked good at running back. He ripped off some nice runs and ran hard. As we said earlier, Hamilton's just got to have some quicker starts. They're coming out and they're getting behind. And then they're playing okay in the second half, and they're hanging in and not giving up. But, I mean, by that point, it's too little too late. But you know what? Even though they're having troubles, they're still getting good play from their lineman, Malik Craig, and that linebacking crew with Dakota Shelton, Reggie DeMonch, and Zach Harding have played well. So, you hate to use the throw out the records cliche and everything like that. Well, I know these two teams would like to throw out the records because they're struggling.
Sure.
But this is going to be a good game. It's like part of nature. It just has to happen that way. So, be fun to watch.
So those are the 3 games on our WBCB Sports Network this season. Again, Friday, Hopewell Valley at Allentown at 7 p.m. Saturday, Robbinsville at Princeton at 11 a.m. And Saturday, Hamilton at Nottingham at 2 p.m. All 3 games on 107.7 FM, The Bronc, and online at 1077thebronc.com. But there's a lot of other big games going on in Mercer County this weekend. We will run through them quickly here. On Friday night, we will see Trenton at Eastern, Rancocas Valley at Cherokee, West Windsor-Plainsboro South at Northern Burlington, and West Windsor-Plainsboro North at Ewing. Then on Saturday, one of the biggest games this week has got to be Notre Dame at Steiner. Also on Saturday, Hightstown at Lawrence.
That Notre Dame Steiner could be the game of the week. Notre Dame's 4-3, Steiner's 5-1. Notre Dame got beat by a good Lenape team. Steiner's coming off that game where survived the scrappy Hightstown team, and I kind of wonder if Steiner might not have been looking past that game to Notre Dame, because this has always been a good rivalry, and a lot of it is because a lot of kids from Hamilton go to Notre Dame and play for Notre Dame's teams. And Jake Lieka, the talented receiver, he would have gone to Steiner had he stayed at public school. I'm pretty sure Greg Campion, the backup quarterback, I know he's a Hamilton kid. Pretty sure he would have gone to Steiner. So you got that. Notre Dame's going to look to try and stop that short passing attack by Steiner. And they also have to worry about Jordan Morrison and Alex Rubio running the ball. But Steiner committed 5 turnovers last week. If they do that against Notre Dame, they're going to get killed. You got guys like Xavier Lozinski, Isaiah Hall, Alex Roman, and Jake Lieka. This really has a potential to be a good game. But I'm not going to say I promise it'll be a good game, because you can't promise anything with the unpredictability this year.
No, there hasn't been I feel like every time I make a prediction, I'm off by 20 points.
Yeah, so Trenton's 4-3. They're at Eastern 0-7. The Tornadoes did everything right against Nottingham. They should be able to keep heading in the right direction, against this winless team. The game's in Voorhees. The only concern here is South Jersey teams have been having the edge against Mercer County teams this year. So, Trenton can't go down there thinking it's easy. They can't look at that record. They got to look at this as, all right, Hightstown at Lawrence, I don't know what Ryan Collins' status is going to be. But I'll tell you right now, if Hightstown plays with the same intensity and desire they did against Steiner, they should be able to snap their losing streak. The one thing you can say about Lawrence is they've scored 49 points in their last 2 games. A lot of that's come when the game's been decided, but they still scored it.
Hey, Lawrence is one of only 2 teams this season to put up double-digit points against Hopewell Valley.
Good point. Yeah, Hightstown's 2-5. Lawrence is 0-7.
Hightstown's the other, by the way.
Oh, right, yeah. So this is the battle of Hopewell killers, I guess you would want to call it, sort of. West Windsor North 3-4, at Ewing 4-3. This could be interesting, but as we said earlier, West Windsor North, you never know, man. I mean, things have the potential to break right for them. They've been shut out twice. They've scored 29 or more 4 times. They scored over 40 twice and over 50 once. It really comes down to if the team can stop their big 3, and that's our players of the week, Thompson and Owens, and their running back, Chris Marquise. They jumped on Hamilton, went up 22-0, and they just kind of cruised from there. In the last game, West Windsor South is 0-7 at Northern Burlington 3-3. West Windsor's playing for pride at this point. They'd like to do something offensively. They've scored 7 points or less in 4 of their 7 losses this year. So they just want to get something going that they can hang their hat on a little bit. So that about wraps it up for looking ahead to this week.
If you want to take a quick look at the PowerPoints, we can do that before we get going.
We got the PowerPoints here. A few teams sort of dropped out of the running a little bit after last week, but Let's start with Central Jersey 3. Hopewell is in second place now, 96 points, 1 point behind Rubs and Fairhaven, 1 ahead of Red Bank, and 12 ahead of Ocean Township. But all 3 of those games have played just 6 games, and Hopewell has played 7, so they have an extra game to get those points back. Ewing is 7th with 59 points. They've played 7 games, and the team in 9th place, Rahway, has played 6, and they're lurking behind with 49 points. So Ewing is right there, but they got to keep winning. Central Jersey 4, Steiner has moved up to 3rd, which would, if the season ended now, would give them a home game in the first round. They have 86 points.
Who would have thought that Steiner could potentially get a home football game after the last couple of seasons of football? Very good for them.
You got that right. They also have a game at hand against the 2 teams ahead of them, Brick Memorial and Brick Township. But those 2 teams, they already have 103 and 102 power points, so they're 18 ahead of Steiner, even with that. Even though Steiner has a game in hand, so it seems like Steiner, if they can get 3rd, that would be awesome for them. Allentown slipped from 4th down to 7th with 71 points, but they're still in the top 8, which is enough to get you in. Just keep winning, Redbirds. Trenton, interesting. In Central Jersey 5, despite having their win taken away, they still maintain their hold on 3rd place with 82 points. So that didn't even hurt them as far as that. Whether it does at the end of the season, we'll see. But for 1 week at least, it hasn't. North Jersey 2, Group 4, West Windsor North moved up from 11th to 9th, putting them right on the doorstep with 51 points. They trail North Hunterdon by 7, so they need to win and hope for some other things to happen this week. Non-public 4, Notre Dame slipped from 6th to 7th with its loss and has 89 points. The Irish are tied for the 7th and 8th spot with Paramus Catholic, so, massive game for them this week, too.
Absolutely.
And that's about it, buddy.
All right, this has been the Mercer County Football Show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Remember, Friday, Hopewell Valley at Allentown at 7 p.m. Saturday, Robbinsville at Princeton at 11 a.m. And Saturday, Hamilton at Nottingham at 2 p.m. And I'm pretty sure I said 7 a.m. on Friday. I meant 7 p.m. All 3 games on 107.7 The Bronx. Don't get up early to listen to high school football on Friday. That would be ridiculous. He's Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. This is the Mercer County Football Show. We'll see you next week.
Watch out for the streakers.